Hey everybody, welcome into the Lettermen Lounge. The sun came up in Columbus, Ohio, and Roosters is open for business, so let's talk about football. It's still wonderful to live in this city. It's great to be with you guys for some fun, casual conversation.
Now you know why Bob and I weren't so excited about this season.
Well, that's interesting.
Stop.
I'm not going to say I wasn't excited. I knew it was going to be a little bumps that we had to overcome.
So it appears that Ohio State has some work to do. Oregon 35, Ohio State 28. We have a season at an early crossroads. That's Tyvis Powell, Nicole Cox, Bobby Carpenter, Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. And I was very, very wrong about Ohio State last week and definitely wrong about Oregon. But I'm not sure who I was more wrong about. Probably Ohio State. I still don't really believe that Oregon is that good. But they got a lot of things that came easily to them. And that's, I think, where everything has to start as the Buckeyes find some solutions. Tyvis, Bob, defensively, you guys were silver bullets. What was it like for you on Saturday afternoon?
Well, for me, it really brought tears to my eyes to see where the defense has gone. You know, I think the last time that I was proud to be a silver bullet was probably 2019. You know, back when Hafley was the DC and they lost to Clemson that year. But that year, you know, they flew around and made plays. What I seen Saturday, it was unrecognizable. I did not know what was going on. I mean, the things that I thought was simple, was easy fixes, they just never fixed them. And I don't know, like a lot of people blame coaching. Some people blame players. I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, it's a trust issue. The players do not trust Coach Combs. I don't know if Coach Combs is teaching them the things that I see that I think is easy fixes. I don't know if he's making those adjustments or not. It doesn't seem like he is because the players are not responding to it. So that's why people think it's coaching. But I would think he would. It's literally football one-on-one things that, like, you should know from, like, 8th grade.
So he was there with you.
Coach Combs?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, so you're the guy that asked me. He was the corner DB's coach.
Yes.
And so you didn't have the control of the whole defense.
Correct.
So you've watched this guy coach.
Yes.
Now, he was more corners than safeties at that point.
Yes, definitely way more corners.
But you saw how he coached the corners. Or the things
I came in as a corner, so he was my first coach.
Gosh, that's the first recruiting mistake that we'd made.
Well, I'll let you know I was an athlete.
Hey, well, they adjusted, all right? They evaluated personnel and said, Tyvis.
I think I would have been a great corner, actually.
Tall, stiff guy to safety.
I'm not stiff. I have kids, so
Don't look at me. I didn't say it.
I'm not. I have kids.
Wow.
So
Got away from us.
are the things that you saw on Saturday from the corner position, are those things that you had watched Kerry Combs coach when you were there?
Yes, he did teach us crack replace for sure.
Yes.
That's one thing for sure. We went over crack replace. So I know that it had to be taught. Like, there's no way it just got lost in the sauce. Like,
so that's what I mean. I was there at a lot of those practices. I'd heard it. I mean, I've heard it yelled many times. And crack replace when the tight end, corner, wide receiver, whoever's out there,
whoever the man
and he
is,
decides to run down and crack on a safety, crack on a linebacker.
you have to come up.
You have to fill, and we need at that point
An edge,
and that is on the corner, maybe a safety, whoever the defensive back is responsible for that. And so you don't have like a tackle and a running back just leading out there, or guard, and no one even to block and just running into the end zone. And I'll give you one. Hey, we weren't ready for it. We didn't see it. Maybe they
one
never run
time, that's cool. Like, all right, we'll live. But like I said, you come off the field and you grab the iPad, and the coaches come over. He's even on the field. Coach Combs is even on the field. So I know he grabbed that iPad and said, you have to come. This is on the corner. You have to come set the edge. If you don't set an edge, we have nobody out there. You cutting off the rest of the defense because you're running into the linebacker. I don't even think the receiver even made the block.
No.
They literally ran into each other every time. And then on top of that, the free safety, even if you 15 yards off the ball, you got to somehow make some effort to be there to try to get it down. You got to do the best you can to try to get it down. He was nowhere even in the picture either, so I don't know what's going on.
Nicole, I think that was the first prediction you've ever got wrong.
Really? I just feel like I have had a few, so.
But to watch that, what did you make of that on Saturday?
It was a little bit confusing. I know Coach Combs. I feel he's a phenomenal coach. I feel he's very motivational. He's just so I think we have a young team, and I think that they're still trying to figure out some things, and maybe the confidence, maybe they're overthinking it. I mean, I'm not sure. I was kind of questioning why wasn't anybody there, but so I don't really have a theory for it. I was kind of looking to you guys to know the answer for that.
Well, I don't know that they have the answers. Kerry Combs did come out to do a post-game press conference, which was, he waited a little bit of time, but he at least owned up to that there were issues. But I don't know. The thing that they talk about, Berm, is you're going to look at the coaching, the personnel, and the scheme, and all three of them have problems because you see what Tyvis and Bob are talking about, crack replace, which is basic football that they're not doing. They're rotating the personnel. They don't seem to know who their best players are. And the scheme, well, especially since Josh Proctor broke his leg, a single high safety, I'm not sure how they have the personnel to run that in the first place. So all three of those have issues.
You remember back in 2019?
I do remember
when Jeff Hafley took over. The first thing he said in the press conference, because after the 2018 season, which was the worst statistical defense we've ever seen at Ohio State, close was the 2013 defense. You guys were pretty terrible.
Don't bring that up, because I just talked to Josh about that too. Don't bring that up.
You guys were pretty terrible that year. The 2019, when Hafley took over, he said that the goal was to be simple and fast. And that's why that one high safety, that 3D look.
I've been in it. It's truly simple.
It's truly simple, but it's only fast if you have players who can win one-on-one battles most of the game. Whether that's Chase Young, whether that's Jeff Okudah and Damon Arnett, whether that's Jordan Fuller not making mistakes in the back end. You have to have dudes to run that defense. There's a reason that no one else does it, because you have to have a collection of superstars at individual spots to win those battles. And clearly this defensive roster, despite all the recruiting wins, despite all the five-star blah, 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 like these guys are not playing fast. I'm telling you, watching that on the field, you're looking at it, and I'm not a football like X's and O's diagnoser guy, but I'm watching going, that is
X's and O's diagnoser guy.
Prognosticator.
It's not my forte, but like it's easy to see on the field. Like these guys are just way out of place. And it reminded me so much of 2018. And that year it required Brendan White coming in and playing the safety spot. And he was a guy that understood how to set an edge. And that was what killed Ohio State against Maryland that year. The Greg Schiano defense, the edge was completely open all the time. And again, that year you had very inexperienced linebackers. You had very inexperienced defensive backs. And these kids are just not doing it. And there has to be a change in the scheme. Now it's obviously difficult to change a scheme in the middle of the season.
Absolutely.
But you have Tulsa and Akron and 3 weeks until you get back to the Big Ten. And I think that's enough time.
It's necessitated by injuries, by how you're struggling. Like all of those things you said are true. Simple and fast is only good, like you said, when you have the dudes to be able to do it. If you're simple and slow, then you see what you saw on Saturday. There's no they know exactly what you're going to be in.
And the Thursday before that.
But you're not executing as well. And there were some things Thursday. It's like some of the big plays, like, okay, make a tackle here, do this there, and you can kind of figure that out. Where this, it's like schematic. Like Tyvis said, they're bringing you over, crack replace, cut split by the X, which means he's close to the tackle. Boom, he's coming down. Alert these guys inside.
That's what I'm saying.
They draw it right up. The coach can't be out there for you. They see it again. Now there's actually fans. Maybe last year you could have yelled it out and they would have heard you like practice.
Yeah.
Now there's people cheering and they're like screaming, and you can't just nurse these guys along. They've got to identify it and be able to execute that scheme at a high level. And if you're not, then they just know what you're going to do, and they can scheme it up all day long. So they've got to find a way to obviously change up the back end a little bit and play that to what they do. And they have to find a way to start getting pressure, because they're not getting pressure with 4. And to the best of my knowledge, I cannot remember. Maybe it happened a few times where they were bringing second and third level players to help get pressure.
I don't remember a single straight up blitz on Saturday.
And I'm not talking about guys when they have the back end man-to-man and they delay and go. And last year was kind of covered up a little bit because they put Baron Browning up there, and he was an elite rusher, and he's tall, and he's big, and he had that defensive end edge player body, so he could do it. But Chase Young isn't here anymore, and I love these guys up front. They're all really nice, and they're highly recruited guys. But highly recruited players like that's potential. Not all those guys are going to produce at an insanely high level. And then the last piece of it comes back down to, and we talked about it weekend kickoff, and Tyvis and I got into it. And I joke, you've got to have some dudes on the defense that are willing to stab stab a human being.
Really do.
When faced with an opportunity of their life becoming extinct or survival, that they will choose not to talk their way out of it, but they will fight their way out of it. I played with guys who had been arrested with, and I'm not saying that you want all these dudes,
No,
a lot of them.
You need a few.
But I've been played with dudes that have been arrested with firearms.
Nicole's not buying it over here.
You need It's
Not a
it's
lot, but
proven
you need
fact that
some.
you need some that's going. You need a wild card on the team. You have to.
So you
have
need
it.
somebody who lives on the edge to set the edge.
Yes.
Got it. All right.
Damon
Ooh, I
Arnett.
like that.
Who don't
I like
care?
that saying.
You gotta have a you don't care type thing. Like
Yeah.
I can't say the correct words, but you can't. You just don't
I've
have
gotta
to
write that
You
down.
have no
Well,
care.
Let me throw it from the other perspective. Maybe you need high character guys who also have a high GASF, right?
Yeah.
Where is Schlegs to
So
drop
I
that?
don't-
GASF.
I don't
That's
think,
it.
I think you have to have kids who are just proud to do things the right way. And I'm telling you, watching that game on the field again, I didn't see a single moment where anyone looked pissed off that they were being embarrassed.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's the element, like, this is a pride thing. I know I'm supposed to, guys are doing what they're told. We're trying to do this. Like, you get to the point where you're trying to execute so perfectly that, I mean, you get caught up in trying to color inside the lines instead of, like, figuring out, man, let's just get this thing done. Figure out the picture. Go shoot it. Go make a play.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what's
It-
going on.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not going to look like the coach drew it up. But if I whoop his A, then it's just going to happen. Like, I'm going to get there. I'm going to make it happen.
And that's why Ohio State has been slow to play guys like Kayvon Pope, the last year, because Kayvon during the week seems to
What a
freelance.
subtle way of saying that Kayvon Pope might stab someone.
But he freelances a bit.
He's a little
bit.
He's a little more wild, you know?
He's a wild card on the field. You don't know what he's going to do, but it seems like every time he's out there, he finds a way to hit the football. And
You know what, Byron? When we went to the national championship, my defense coordinator, Coach Ash, he told me it's two people on our defense that we could not account for. Darren Lee, Joey Bosa. We don't know. We could tell them what to do, but we don't know what they're going to do. So
Make 'em right.
Your job
Yeah.
is to make them right. And we don't have that. Everybody is on this team just trying to do do it exactly how the coach drew it up, and it's not going to work like that every time. Like sometimes, yes, but the majority of the time, you got to be a football player.
Yeah, and they had a way of making things right for themselves on the field as well. So let's put a pin in that. I promise we're going to talk a lot more about the defense.
do we have to?
Yeah, Berm, it's a long show.
My goodness.
And Nicole doesn't want to do all of it. She doesn't want to break down X's.
She's got to do
and O's,
real
but-
stuff. She's trying to procure chicken wings.
with whatever you called yourself a minute ago.
X's and O's, diagnostics.
Diagnoser guy.
Hey, Spencer, can we make sure that's my title today?
Diagnoser guy. Put it down there on the bottom third. We still have to give some Roosters Buckeye leaves. There were encouraging performances. Now they're mostly on the offensive side of the ball, although I know that there are 2 or 3 defenders that I would throw in that mix. Nicole, you get to go first.
I am going to give it to someone from the defense,
Oh.
just because I know,
Okay.
just because I do feel I understand this whole thing you're saying about you got to have a guy in there willing to stab someone, just kind of a wild card, whatever. I guess I
Sounds
really
so
don't
bad.
understand it.
You do.
But guys, I
Sounds
think
worse when you say it like that.
well, that's
I
what it
think we're
sounds
going to
like.
have to. Let's
So-
just stick with wild card.
Wild card.
So that
I
we
like
don't-
wild
There you
card.
go. That's it.
So, but I think a wild card also is someone, it's a mindset of just being able to live in the moment and not overanalyze it. And I think that, those are things you deal with in business. We went through that. This is boring, but, launching our online ordering, it took forever and ever and ever for us to want to launch it because we were trying to perfect it and to, go by the book and make sure there were no kinks. And COVID came and it's like, okay, let's just launch it and
Yep.
figure it out. And so I think that's just what needs to happen. It doesn't need to be overanalyzed. And so I think Cody Simon, I'm going to give him my Buckeye lead.
Just turn him
because-
loose.
Yes.
Tony
Because
plays fast.
because he in the fourth quarter, I was really impressed with, they were down, and when you're down, I feel like the anxiety level and your patience, you're not being patient because you're like, we've got to do something. He was able to wait right there just for, Oregon to pass the ball, and he was able to do a PBU, pass breakup, which was great. And it was just impressive. And you could see, like, the commentators were saying, most people would have, just shot off and, tried to run, but he knew, he read the play, he lived in the moment, as I like to call it, and just really watched what was happening, and it was a great play. Yeah. So I think if it was more of that throughout the game, it would have been a little different. But
And he had that big sack against Minnesota.
Yes.
So the first 2, starts of his career, or he's just got to play more snaps. I think we could all agree that Cody Simon's one of the best linebackers.
He's earned it. He's definitely earned it with his play. Even last week in Minnesota, he came in and made some plays. Yeah, if you listen to Coach Combs, just let them go. Just don't hold these boys back.
If Nicole says so, you do it, or you don't get to come back on the Buckeye Cruise.
Coach Combs on the Buckeye Cruise is the best. I do. I love him, and we don't know. We can't say what's going through his mind. I mean, I'm not going to try to stand in his shoes and say how to coach these guys, but I think just outsider looking in, watching a play like that, Cody was. I guarantee that didn't come from the coaches. He was watching where the pass was going to go, and he waited for it. So,
Tyvis, you have a Buckeye leaf?
I do, and I don't care what Bob says over here. I like the way.
Well, you shouldn't.
I like the way CJ played. After his last week performance, I took him a whole half to get cooking. Mm-hmm. He came back this game, and I thought he delivered the ball well. He had like 3 receivers with over 100 yards.
I agree with you, Tyvis.
When the offense was down, he instead of it's a lot. That tells a lot when your team is down and your defense is struggling, and it's on you to win this game. The defense, this happened to us when I was playing a bunch of times. Yeah. Where their defense, they just had us beat that day, but our offense came through and got it done. And to see CJ go out there and deliver those passes, and that offense kept rolling, it went through him. They could have kept running the ball, but he had the hot hand and he was making the plays. So he gets my Buckeye leaf. I don't care what Bob says. I don't care about his interception at the end either.
No, I'm not a CJ hater. I'm just saying that there's a high standard there, and you have the best receiving core in the country. They
all had over like 150 yards.
Yeah, and I could have thrown some of those balls to him too.
My God.
I'm saying you know what I'm comparing him to? I'm comparing him to Justin Fields.
Well, that's your problem. His name is CJ.
Yeah. I understand that.
Not Justin.
I'm comparing him to his level of production and what he's able to do.
They're 2 different people.
I understand that.
Guys, remind me, was Justin this good when he was a freshman?
Yes.
Yeah, he was.
He started.
Well, not in Georgia. Not in Georgia.
Yeah. His first start for Ohio State was pretty damn good.
Yeah. And how old was he?
Second-year player.
Okay.
And so listen, that's the standard is the standard. The standard is the standard.
Wow.
All right?
So until he plays like Justin,
he's never going to play like Justin.
So
I said his production and his ability to execute. He's not a runner. He's not that.
He's not going to run the ball.
He's never going to be an athlete like Justin.
No.
But he needs to be able to stand in the pocket. He got a little scared. He got skittish. He abandoned the pocket a little early sometimes.
So you
Second
said.
game.
So let me ask you.
I'm not saying that.
So let me ask you. Did he not show fight and promise moving forward?
I didn't say he played terrible. So you're misconstruing.
I'm just asking a question.
I'm not giving my.
You didn't even answer the question. You trying to ask a question back to me.
I know.
He did show some toughness. He did show some fight.
So you're confident moving forward?
No, I'm not confident moving forward.
Wow.
She showed me something. I'm not saying that I'm going to sit here and get out the anointing oil and pour it on him and say he's Heisman Trophy kid.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say that either.
Okay. So that's the standard. That's the standard.
When is the last time?
The last 2 quarterbacks we've had
has not won a Heisman,
but they've been Heisman Trophy candidates.
Who cares about a second place
not
loser?
at this age.
Who cares about that?
I like that.
Yeah, they were.
That makes no sense. You congratulating somebody for not winning a trophy?
I'm not congratulating anyone. I'm saying that they were in the top 5.
So what? They didn't win it.
So what? He's not even in the top 30 in college football.
He got 10 games to go.
Okay, I'm telling you this.
He got 2 stat games coming up. I tell you that.
I don't care about those games.
Well,
stat games.
It's about the numbers at the
600. No, it's not. It's about big time plays and big time games. 600 yards should equate to 42 points on the scoreboard. Every 100 yards you gain, you should have 7 points. That's not me. That's coming from Bill Parcells, who's a Hall of Fame coach. And so if you're running an offense that's not getting that done, you're not converting on third down at a high enough rate, which they weren't bad. He had a turnover. They had 3 turnover on downs because they went for it 5 times and only converted 2 of them.
Okay.
And so then you got to execute in the red zone. And they weren't bad at that. And some of the drops weren't his fault.
So let me ask you this.
Okay.
Are you insinuating that they need to make a quarterback change?
I didn't say that at all.
Okay.
So you're trying to put words in my mouth.
I'm just asking.
Me saying that he didn't play as well as I would have liked him to.
he just wants all the cards on the table.
Yeah, I just want to know where your head at with it.
I'm saying he still needs to get better.
Okay. I agree. I don't disagree with that at all.
We're there.
I do not disagree with that at all.
Yeah, there's room for growth.
I give my Buckeye leaf to Nicole for cleaning off her nightstand, by the way. She got a lot of cups on there, a lot of stuff all over the place. That gives me anxiety. That's something that I battle with at my house with the lady that I share a bed with who's fantastic. But we have a tendency to keep bringing stuff up.
Elite family.
Courtney and I are a lot alike.
The lady I share a bed with.
Yeah. Courtney and I are a lot alike, and my husband and Bobby are a lot alike.
Hi, I'm Bobby Carpenter, and this is the the lady I share a bed with.
Yeah.
CJ's situation is entirely different than Justin's. I mean, Justin came in. There was no one else behind him. It was going to be Justin or bust. There was no pressure. You knew that he was going to be the guy. They weren't going to play someone else. So
it would have been CJ.
Ryan's been pretty confident in CJ.
2019.
Though.
He 2019. He started off that year against FAU and Cincinnati. Yeah. Luke didn't have Cincinnati where it is now. It's a much different situation than going on the road at Minnesota at night and then having to come back and play Oregon, who I know they're down their two best players.
And probably not being fully healthy.
And he's not 100% healthy at all. And so I just think that there's this really unfair expectation.
Yeah, Bobby.
It's Ohio State, buddy.
I know,
Ohio State.
It's Ohio State, and the quarterback completed 65% of his passes for 484 yards. And yes, he overthrew some balls.
He does. He's been doing that.
But that's nerves. That's youth.
I know.
You figure those things out. I don't know that I would.
I'm not giving people winning performances in a loss when we could have played.
Well, if that's the case, nobody get a leaf.
I'm not giving it. I gave it to Nicole for cleaning off the nightstand.
Well, I take my leaf back then. I'm with Bob. Give me my leaf back.
My question is,
throw it on my own helmet at the house.
Did CJ Stroud do enough to win in your mind?
That's a good question.
Ooh, he's stumped.
Yeah, you stumped.
That means yes.
No, it doesn't mean yes. I would say it was close. They had opportunities in the last two drives, and the defense didn't play well. But 28 points isn't enough. If they would have scored 42 and lost, 35 and lost.
Going to have 7 more if the best tight end in America doesn't put the ball on the ground and try and go celebrate before he gets to the end.
That was a good ball. Listen, that's why I said there were balls
in that game.
There were balls that were dropped. Yep. And so I'm not going to attribute all of that to him. Believe me, he didn't play bad. I'm not sitting here and saying CJ Stroud should be benched.
If they kicked 3 field goals, they would have won that game by 2 points instead of 3 4th down conversion attempts that could have been points. So, I mean, and then you have the drop by Ruckert. There's certainly things that he could have done better.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not giving him a Buckeye leaf for throwing for 400. Like, the yards are.
Well, ain't nobody giving him a leaf. I took mine back.
It's okay.
He deserves the leaf.
I don't dislike
Tyvis, don't
CJ.
take it back.
Okay, so
Nicole's putting it back.
You're giving yours to Nicole.
I mean,
executive decision.
Yours goes to Nicole. Yours goes to.
I don't know why I became the hated guy here. Like,
ain't nobody.
He's saying someone to play better.
I want everybody to understand where you're coming from. I just want you to. I want you to get it right, like so everybody knows what you're saying.
I feel like you're attacking me.
I'm not attacking. Why would I do? I love you.
You know what?
Ohio State.
The mood in Columbus, Ohio, right now.
We all. I was even arguing with Cardell. It's sad.
Ohio State lost the game. Everyone needs to play better. I mean, CJ Stroud needed to play better. The offensive line needed to play better. The running backs were not.
Some people don't need to play better. They need to play more, Berm. Like Cameron Brown, who
he's hurt.
Buckeye.
He's hurt.
He's hurt.
He clearly was hurt.
He was in position to play. He made plays.
Now, I will say this.
3 passes.
I will say this. If you go out, if you decide to strap that helmet on and go out on that field, you healthy.
And they made that. They made the decision
Ain't no
the week
excuses.
before. He was close to playing at Minnesota. They said, "Well, are you 100% sure?" And the trainers and Cam Brown said, "No, let's get ready for Oregon." So he didn't go to that game. He didn't make that travel roster. It was so he could play in that game as many snaps as they needed. And then they didn't play him for as many snaps as he could have given them. Because every time it got tight, and they're like, "Wow, gosh, we have to put Josh Proctor and Cameron Brown back out there." Well, they made plays. He had 3 PBUs. He could have had, probably a couple more. Denzel Burke played great as well. But
I like him, by the way.
Both of those corners, if those are your best corners, like Tyvis, imagine thinking that you have to play 4 or 5 corners. I know that Kerry Combs has rotated 3. I get it.
That's what he does. He's been doing that since he got there.
That's great. But it's not great if you're going to dip in and Legend Cavazos gets picked on every time he's on the field. And I'm not saying that to be mean to him, but you're winning. You're trying to play a top 25 game. Your best players have to win that for you.
They do.
So Cam Brown was one of them. I give him a Buckeye leave.
Yeah, I just think they just try to do too much. I mean, I think they're trying to be too cute with
even in a loss,
winning the matchups.
Played well.
I think they're just trying to win all these matchups that they're creating basically out of thin air. Because Ryan Watts should have been the third cornerback playing in that game. If you think about Minnesota,
I might say he was a starter in Minnesota, right?
But he barely played against Oregon, and I think they're trying to get Legend out there because he's quicker but it doesn't matter how quick you get to the wrong spot on the field. I mean,
at the end of the day, it's about who's the most production. I mean, if one is struggling and the other one is doing well, I mean, you have to go with that guy. You can't go off of recruiting. You can't go off of stars. You can't go off of the NIL deal or none of that. You got to go about who's getting the job done on the field. Because at the end of the day, it's your job to put the best 11 guys on the field, and your job is based upon how well they do.
I was going to give my Buckeye leave to Cam Brown
That's why
and
I stole
Denzel
it.
Burke because I
stole it
thought,
from you.
Oregon only completed 17 passes, number one, but only 7 of them were to wide receivers. The Buckeyes broke up 9 passes in that game. The corners, when I say the corners, I mean the best 2 corners, Burke and Brown, played pretty good, all things considered. But you already took Burke, so I'm going to give my Buckeye leave to the Ohio State crowd.
Oh, yeah. Good crowd.
It was a
I've
good
been
crowd.
critical.
That's a good
Not
one.
the ticket scanners, though. Yeah, they don't get a buck.
No.
I've been critical of the home crowd over the years for not being loud enough at certain times.
You have?
No, they was loud.
Even a noon game, that segment of the fourth quarter when they got the stop on 2nd and 3rd down and got the ball back with a chance to tie it up for the first time, so like 7 minutes to go, was as loud as I've ever heard Ohio Stadium, and it was sustained. It was like a roar for 3 or 4 minutes straight, and I thought that was a moment where the crowd for the first time really made their presence felt. So I'm going to give my kudos to
some
them.
of that granddaddy medicine.
Even though they, it wasn't full, but I think 100,000 people showed up and they were loud. And actually, the part of it that I found like most encouraging, because I know Buckeyes fans kind of get a bad rap at times. At the end of the game, when they were running off the field, there were still fans over the edge trying to get high fives, trying to give daps, whatever, and people yelling at C.J. Stroud. We support you. We believe in you.
Oh,
we know who
I love that.
And
that's
like
nice.
CJ's walking out, obviously by him. That doesn't always happen.
No, heck no. Heck no, they'll tell you about yourself for sure.
There was a lot of support coming to that, and I didn't hear a single person at the end like excoriating them, and I thought it was pretty different, and one of the reasons why I'm so glad people are just back in the stadium.
It was.
Other than that, the defense sucked.
Oh, I've got a bone to pick with the way people had to get into the stadium, though.
It's.
Uh-oh.
Save
We got a Bobby Carpenter.
Save that. Save that for the next
You know
segment.
what really grinds my gears?
We'll get to that. Nicole has to make a prediction for. There is another game, and there's actually
Canceled the season.
10 more to come. Probably 1 or 2 after that as well. That would be my prediction.
That's sad. That one loss, and that's how we act.
Yeah,
The season's over.
That's the standard. Is the standard, right, Bob?
I was in there on Sunday after Virginia Tech. I mean, I was there that week. You would have thought there was a funeral.
Right.
I mean,
it was bad, Bob. It
was believe me.
bad.
Urban was.
You think that
he does
one-
not handle
Wait a
losses
minute.
well.
You think that one was bad? That Michigan State one, my last year, was worse.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, it was.
That one hurt.
At least you had someone else to take it out on the next week.
You right?
They did that. Okay. What will Ohio State do to Tulsa on Saturday, Nicole? 3:30. She will be back full.
FS1.
Maybe.
It's awesome.
Foolish.
I'm going to say
31-17.
53.
Oh, no.
I'm going to say 53-17.
53-17. Tyvis, I'm going to give you more time to think about yours. We'll get to that at the end of the show. Nicole, Mondays and Tuesdays, you guys still have wing specials, boneless wing specials?
Boneless wing specials Mondays, and then Tuesday fried mushroom.
Fried.
Tomorrow,
Appetizer
Appetizer Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I know
And
Justin
mac and
Flick.
cheese bites are back, guys.
Ooh.
So that's the breaking news. I know. We got some right there. So
Well, yeah, these used to
Why
be mac and
didn't
cheese bites.
I love
you
it.
say so?
I know.
There might be a shortage coming in soon now that Berm is back here on Mondays and that he can get his hot sauce and his nuclear.
Yeah.
The nuclear was not as nuclear today as it was last.
Really? Well, we make it
He
in-house.
didn't order it this time because he got made fun
I
of.
had
There's
it-
no way. There's no
You
way.
did? I'll have to see.
I ate it right before we came on.
I'll have to ask the
You would be
kitchen.
crying.
Bob saw me. I was.
I
there
did.
talking
I mean,
to
it
him.
Wait a
shows
minute.
it's made from scratch.
Is
So
the
there can
nuclear-
sometimes be some
Is that
inconsistency.
the one I had on the cruise?
Yeah.
You did, Tyvis.
All right, yeah, I'm cool.
Tyvis.
I'm cool.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm cool.
I forgot.
Yeah, I'm cool.
It wasn't as nuclear.
Did you get
today
your
as it was
shirt?
last week.
We mailed
I got
it to
it.
you.
I
Good.
got it. Thank
I'm so
you.
glad.
I would never do that again.
Oh.
I don't have to prove nothing.
Nope.
It's recorded. Everybody
It
on the
was
cruise,
fun, though.
they
It was
know that
fun.
I did it. Listen, the first 15 seconds, cool. I was like, oh,
I know.
man, this
That's
is
Bring
what
it
it
weak.
on.
does.
It is weak. Man, I was running around the thing. I'm like trying to get all type of milk and water after about 30 seconds.
Well, that's why Berm was crying last week, no matter what he says.
Was sweating.
We're
Sweating.
Gonna,
It was
my
sweating
eyeballs.
from the eyes.
all right. Anything else that we need to know about Nicole? Before
No,
you
we
get out?
just thank you to all of our guests for just being patient
Oh, we've got
with
the
us.
bowl package that's coming out.
Yep.
What?
We have that. We have our Buckeye Bowl
Got
Trip
another winner?
giveaway.
Yeah.
We do. We so Frank Hess won last year. We're so excited he's going, and then we just picked a winner this morning that we've reached out to and waiting to hear back from. So, yep,
Probably
12
have to listen to
trips.
the morning
Everybody
juice.
needs to
Yeah.
register every week because every week's a new chance to win.
Oh, we'll be talking about tomorrow on the morning juice.
I love it. Thanks,
Hey.
Bob.
And Now with some early bowl predictions, Bobby Carpenter.
Well, Austin, what I'm seeing here is 12 lucky Roosters guests are getting the opportunity to travel to this year's Buckeye Bowl game. Each trip comes complete with 2 tickets, airfare, and hotel. One prize winner will be chosen each week. Guessing to register weekly at roosterswings.com.
That's great, Bobby. What I was asking was your prediction for the Buckeyes this bowl season.
I have no idea. I'm going to Roosters right now to register.
All right, welcome back into the Letterman Lounge. We got a lot more to discuss after Ohio State. The first regular season loss of Ryan Day's coaching career in upset fashion, of course, as it had to be. Ohio State's been favored in every game for a very long time other than Alabama. Every regular season game, I guess I should say. So where do they go from here? Berm?
I think
Why you look like
He's got a lot of things to say. He said he wanted to talk
I don't know.
about it.
I mean, if they're not willing to try and change the scheme on defense, I don't see any way the defense gets better because the players on the defense are not going to change. Now, do you change the concept?
Transfer portal.
Well, that doesn't work in the middle of the season.
There's not a mid-season portal?
No.
Street free agents.
No, I mean, if that
got a
doesn't
year
change.
left.
Tyvis has a COVID year.
So the question, the question that Ryan Day asked on Saturday, and he asked it last year too, it was the exact same thing. Is it scheme? Is it culture? Or is it scheme? Is it personnel? Or is it coaching? You're not going to change the coach right now. Even if this season
Firing a coach in the middle of the season in college football, like a coordinator, unless the guy's like a drunk or, and we've even had that at times, and they still kept their job.
That's not going to happen. The players, you're not going to get different players. So either you commit to playing the right players and sticking with them and stopping the BS rotation to try to play 40 guys per game on defense, or you change the scheme. And I know that's hard to do. But again, when you have Tulsa and Akron coming up, teams that you're going to beat just by being there, I think that now you have essentially 4 weeks to get ready for Rutgers, to get back.
That's awesome that's what we're saying.
I mean, hey,
4 weeks to get ready for Rutgers.
3 weeks. 3 weeks to get ready for Rutgers. 3.5 weeks.
That's sad that we got to say
They don't
get
have
ready.
to get ready for Rutgers.
Yes,
What?
they do.
Come on.
I'm
Yes, they
I'm
do.
just saying to get ready for the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Okay, so now's the time to do it. You have to start. I hope that they've already started it today down the street. It has to change.
Probably needed to have started yesterday.
So to me, the answer is you move Lathan Ransom back to where Josh Proctor was playing at the free safety. You drop Court Williams into the strong safety role if he's
That's
healthy
who he
and
should
ready to
have
go.
been back.
I think there's some injury stuff with Court. He hasn't played much.
Clearly, he's not.
Court's a dog now.
Yeah,
Clearly-
that's a guy they need out there.
He hasn't been 100% ready to go. Otherwise, he would have been playing. But I think now's the time. You put him at the strong safety spot. You move Ronnie Hickman or Craig Young to a traditional linebacker spot. And you put Taraja Mitchell and Cody Simon out there. And I'm telling you what, hand to God, I'm just telling Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau, you guys are starting at defensive end this next week. You're going to play a lot. Let them go out there and see what they do. You remember John Cooper's old, if they're going to bite,
You're going to bite as a pup. If they're going to stab, they'll stab in high school.
Has this current group of defensive ends bitten yet?
Zach Harrison has.
Has he?
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not going to. Don't.
was only a week.
Wait.
It was
When
only
you
a week.
say bite, what do you mean?
Listen, dude, like your dog, like going like this to you. I'm talking about taking a bite on your arm.
No.
And feeling like
No.
you're trying to saw that thing off.
Are
and
you
get
saying?
away.
Are you saying that is he somebody that offenses fear?
Yes, game plan.
No.
Okay.
I think that with players like JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer, you just got to give them a shot and you just let them run out there and see what they can do. I understand that you have veterans on that spot, but that's one spot where the rotation has always worked well.
Yeah. You have to rotate on the D line.
I think you just have to get those guys in the game more often. I don't even know if maybe the move is to move JT Tuimoloau inside next to Haskell and keep him out there because
Haskell the rascal.
I just don't feel. I mean, Teron Vincent's played fine. I'm not saying he hasn't, but the one thing I think they really miss on this defense is a run stuffer like Tommy Togiai that just clouded up the middle and made it harder.
That definitely make it better.
If you don't get hit in that first 3 yards, the next 4, 5, 6, 7, 70 are pretty easy.
4, 5, 6, 70. I mean, that's.
I don't think teams are able to line up and run directly at the middle of Ohio State.
No, they was going outside zone.
I know that you said that on Saturday, and
they did bust one down the middle though.
That was also with the misalignment, which you can explain to us as well, where Ohio State is playing press man on an ineligible receiver. That did go through the middle, but there was no.
I can't answer that question for you.
There's so many things that are wrong with defense that I just don't know that it's a simple fix. But I think the simplest fix is starting today or yesterday. That scheme has to change. It has to be different.
And I when you say like scheme has to change, here's the thing: they've worked on elements of other coverages during camp. Like, it's not like you just play one thing. Like, this is what you do.
No.
It's just a matter of like, okay, we're going to start grabbing a little bit more out of this bin and a little bit less out of this bin on the play calls.
You can't just go play 70 snaps of straight man-to-man. Like, nobody does
without changing.
Yeah, nobody does that at all. Like, you cannot do that, and it's really doing the kids a disservice. And it's really it's a hard ask to ask people to cover man to man for 70 snaps a game. That's not gonna happen. So you have to throw in cover 3. You got to sprinkle cover 3. You got to throw cover 2 in to get your corners a break. Like you got them running all over the field all game. You got to throw a different coverage in to get them some relief.
I told Austin this on Saturday after we were leaving, but previous Friday I was at the airport in Minnesota getting ready to fly home, and there was a Minnesota assistant coach who was at the same restaurant I was having lunch. So we were talking.
I love this.
And he says to me, we came into this game expecting Kerry Combs to do a whole bunch of things different from the Alabama game. And he said, and I quote, and they did everything exactly the same. They didn't change a thing. And that is fairly damning.
Well, but they were expecting them to change, so maybe he thought they were.
What a chess move!
The old reverse psychology move did not play out.
They're expecting us to run it again.
I mean, we
know that we are going to run it.
We all thought it was going to be different, but I don't know.
They have to find a way to bring pressure, and that's going to be a conversation. That's a philosophical conversation that they're going to have internally, getting those guys going, playing some of the young guys, finding out who's tough. I mean, what are you doing up there, man? Listen, I mean, Tyvis was part of Bloody Tuesdays. I mean, that's the reality of like, hey, we're a really good team. We'll try to take care of each other. Hey, I'm trying to find the toughest 11 dudes on each side of the ball who will do what they're told and will play with relentless passion and effort. And I need to find those 11 guys.
That's the only way it's going to work. I mean, that's what defense is. Defense is really not that hard. All you got to do is leverage and hit. That's it. Leverage, hit. That is really a simple scheme. There's no scheme that can help you with those two things. You got to be born with it. And you don't even have to be born with it. It's really a choice. Toughness is a choice. You just say, I'm going out there and I'm running through somebody's face today. Whoever's stepping in front of me, I'm running through his face. I'm going to make the play happen, no matter what it takes. You got that mindset, they'll get out your way.
I love it. See, he's on the plan. I mean, I might even bring 2 dudes up there, tape their wrists together, and throw like a pair of sharks in there that you're cutting tape off with.
There's one job
and say,
available.
let's go for it. Hey, who wants the job?
Are you the Joker now?
Who wants the job? I mean, seriously.
Acting like Michael Jackson.
I'm serious. In Thriller. Oh, of course.
Have you seen my pencil trick?
I'm just telling you, like there's an attitude and a mindset that needs to happen. And Tyvis was never on a bad team here. I was on a team that by Ohio State standards was awful. We were 3-3 at one point in time. We had lost to Northwestern for the first time in 32 years. Now, our defense was pretty decent, but the expectation was that we were going to have to be great because our offense was not.
Gave up 33 points to Iowa at home.
Oh, yeah. And I was on the road.
Bobby did that?
It was on the road.
I know, it was on the road.
It was
33-7. They got their.
Oh, dude.
What year was this?
This was 2004. They put us on the ABC game because they knew we were about to get whacked. It was 14-0 at halftime. We ran about like 10 offensive plays, I think, in the second half. They just slowly bludgeoned us to death with a freaking shovel head. It was awful. It was awful. That's what it felt like. But you know what? It's like, hey, and Luke Fickell came in there and he goes, you can complain about everything you want to in here. Here's the reality. We're 3-3. We lost a close one to Wisconsin, overtime Northwestern. We just got blown up by Iowa. And then we had some easier games or whatever. He's like, that's a choice. You have to outplay their defense. You have to give up less points than they do. And I don't care if you're playing them 2000 Miami Hurricanes on offense. If you're going to give up more than 14 points, we don't really have much of a chance to win. And so it begins to insult your pride. And it's like, all right, I don't want to be part of that. So like we had a nice hard pivot there. And people had real conversations about, okay, well, we need to bring this pressure. We can't do this anymore. We've done this for 2 years. We're a little bit young here. We've got to change some stuff up. And we began to work through some things. And you develop your identity and what it is. And that has to happen. But it can only happen if the players are receptive to it, because some of these guys are going to bristle a little bit when they start moving playing time around. I thought it was all like we're all friends and hanging out. Yeah, well, you're not getting it done, so he's going to play more. And until we'll give you a little bit of a slice of pizza, but you got to grow that thing on your own.
Mm-hmm.
We're just not going to sit here and be handing out reps like trick or treat. Like that's not how it works.
Think about how much
you got to be the dude in the bushes that's going to hit a dude in the neck and steal his bag of candy. That's how you want to get some more candy. That's what you got to do.
It sounds bad.
Start running from house to house.
He's really not wrong.
I mean,
the game has changed so much in this last 20 years. Everything is slanted towards the offense. So if
yes.
you're not ultra aggressive on defense, you're going to get beat.
Yes.
And
I'm not saying hold him to 13, but you have to go. You have to play.
No, it's too hard to do that nowadays.
That 2004 team, that was an Ohio State team that had 3 first-round draft picks at wide receiver and couldn't score. So, I mean, think about just the way that the world has changed.
Scheme was a little different.
I know. But you guys
run the ball.
You guys pulled it together. You went out. You beat Michigan. You won the bowl game with Ted Ginn playing quarterback, basically. I mean, so
really.
Dude, Troy was suspended. Beckman had come in on he was redshirted. Zwick is our only guy, and I told Todd before the game, and he had a shoulder issue little coming in. But I told Todd, I go, do not let them put you in the game. We're playing the Alamo Bowl, dude. Like this is, don't blow your year for us. We'll find a way to win. Regardless.
Oh, he was gonna blow his red shirt for the game?
Yes, his gray shirt. Like, dude, you're not wasting it on this.
Yeah, no.
And so I told him, like, don't you go in there no matter what. And so Justin pulled his hammy. And they put Ted in and just like, they'd worked like 5 plays. It's like, hey, snap, turn around, here, drop back, throw this. And if nothing else, dude, just like circle the defense.
And he won the game.
Well, he played like 7 or 8 snaps. They taped Justin's leg. Like, he didn't do anything. He just handed it off the rest of the game.
It was Les Miles in the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Dude, they had high-level draft. Vernon Morrissey, their running back, was a second-round pick. Like, they had some dudes.
I'm just saying the game has changed so much. So the only thing that you have to do as a defense now is just, as you said, hit people.
That's it.
Leverage and hit.
Yeah.
It's fine to give up points. No one even cares if you give up.
And it's really
points.
sad to say that.
No one cares if you give up 24 points, but you can't give up 24, 28, 35 points.
You can't get.
I'm about to say it's the fashion of how they gave up the points.
It's muscle. Rutgers scored 30 some points against Ohio State last year. It was all that trick plays, all the stuff didn't matter. But this was a butt kicking. This is a physical butt kicking.
Everybody knew what was coming. That's the problem. Like, you can't the trick stuff and different times. And there's things where people do things like, oh gosh, and like you have to get to halftime. They ran some pretty elementary stuff, and it's like we're just gonna out execute.
That's why I'm frustrated. It's like, and that's the sick part because people think Oregon coming from the Pac-12, it's like they're not physical. They finesse over there, but that. Coach Ball got some stuff going on over there. I didn't even know he was like an secret agent or something like that. He got all that going on, and they physical, and they just flat out physical.
Because you know what? They'd sat there all off season and heard how the Pac-12's terrible. They're soft. They're going to come in here and get smoked. And they were 2 touchdown underdogs. And they're the 12th ranked team in the country.
With Coach Mick as the strength coach, it never happened. I don't recall a game where we just got out physical by somebody. We always either were more physical or we matched the same.
Yeah. But it was different then.
We went against Alabama.
The program was different.
Yeah.
Expectations.
But even the Alabama game in January, they didn't get out physicaled like that.
No.
Alabama.
They
were just out schemed
because they had linebackers that were going up there and striking and doing what they needed to do.
This was just a performance where there was no toughness, and that is an indictment on a lot of people in the program right now.
Tyvis, you've played with Jeff Hafley or under Jeff Hafley.
I did.
You've been in that single high system, I believe, in both San Francisco and Seattle.
Yes.
What is it that makes it effective? Is it for Ohio State? Is it just as simple as that they had Chase Young and Jeff Okudah? It may be.
I mean, it helps, but the way that scheme works is you have to have great DBs. That's all because you're going to be asking them to be in man-to-man coverage, and that allows you to free up your linebackers to send blitzes and to have all this other stuff and not have to worry about so many other things. But also having a good D lineman. You think of Seattle, they had Mike Bennett, Cliff Averill. You think of San Fran today, they got Nick Bosa. And we always know about the secondary in Seattle being good and all that. It's hand in hand. It's not. And with Ohio State, when I look at that, I don't see 2 guys at corner that I'm just like first round talent. Hands down, best DBs. We don't it's questions. With the D line, we're asking who can step up to get in the backfield. So it's too many questions on defense for this scheme to really work. I mean, could it work? Maybe. Right. I mean, I don't think it will. I think you do have to change the scheme to something that's that requires less of your secondary, so everybody can be more closer to the ball, I guess.
So Bob, how feasible is that? As Berm said, you have a couple weeks, but they've also been so much of this conversation about excuses or explanations for what happened a year ago was Ohio State had the injuries. It was constant turnover in the secondary, and you didn't have a spring to install, summer training camp. Well, they had all that this year, and that's all been invested.
Still had a lot of injuries, and that's the one thing, and that's why they're playing. I think part of the reason they're playing a lot of guys, if you're playing a lot of guys and nothing's working, I think it's because you're trying to figure out if you can get guys on the field that will work. And you start looking at all the guys who had missed time, Cam Brown, Sevin Banks. They played a lot of young guys. Dallas Gant. Who the heck else was hurt? Taraji Mitchell was hurt in the spring.
Drawn Cage,
Tommy. And so that's what a lot of those guys, they didn't play in the spring or they were missing parts of camp. And so you're like, well, we struggle with this, but maybe if we put these guys in there, they'll be better at it. And so you're just trying to, I think, kind of fit some guys in and fill holes. And you've been trying to spin this wheel to get it done. And that's probably why they've been doing all this. They have the tools over there needed to be able to change and to be able to get this done. And we're not talking like 180 degree going to a 3-down front and doing all this crazy stuff. It's subtle changes in how you play things. Number one, you can change. Hey, we're going to start bringing pressure. We have blitzes. We're going to have to start using them now. Okay, and maybe we have a 3-down package or something. They have a little 5. There's some other stuff that they worked on. That the alleged 5-down package they got leaked out. All these things.
Well, I looked out there at one point on Saturday. And it was I think it was in the fourth quarter. It was that's the Rushman package. I think that's the first time I've seen it all year.
Yeah,
kicking in.
Weird. Is that when they started to get pressure on the quarterback?
Yeah, it's this is what Ohio State did before.
And so it's all those things. We got to start using some of this stuff. We put it in, you install it. And Tyvis knows this as well. Coaches will want you to install a million things
and only run.
And remember, and they don't even run the other stuff.
Run like a handful. It's really annoying.
I got my butt chewed all week for this and messing this up, and then we don't even run it. So why are we worried about it?
It's a part of this defense, and again, I'm not an X's and O's breaker down guy, so I don't know. But is part of this scheme to not adjust when the offense shifts? Even the most basic shifts on the offense. The Ohio State defense is just standing there. Oregon's shifting into something.
It doesn't mean guys have to be running back and forth, but you have to. It comes down to leverage. When they start moving other guys at different places, Wade Phillips was the most genius guy that I've ever heard say this as a football coach. He's like, when they have more guys over here, we need more guys over here. He's like, it's not that hard. So who are you covering? This guy. Hey, they have 4 guys on this side. We need to at least have 4 guys and maybe someone else as well. And that's when they start shifting, hey, you got to kick out. So you still have someone that has leverage, or you still have someone that can guard that and be a force player, whatever it is.
And to answer your question, I'll take you back to the national championship game. So when we was in cover 3, our weak hook player was our backside linebacker when the Heisman Trophy and he caught the ball. Okay, the switch in the NFL, what they would do is instead of making your linebacker be the weak hook, we'll make the strong safety come down. So we'll show the 2 high like we in 2. And then on the snap, now you come down and you responsible for this receiver. It's subtle, but it makes a huge difference. You don't got a linebacker chasing the Heisman. You got a DB on it. That's a switch that you can make in that scheme.
Right. At least the DB in that situation, tackle him and get PI.
Exactly. So there's little things like that. So yes, there is a lot of adjustments that you can make as the game go on.
All right, they're going to have to do that. That's going to start against Tulsa on Saturday at 3:30. If you're planning, by the way, and haven't seen it, you got that long-awaited night game coming against Akron.
That sounds terrible.
Is it really a night game?
7:30 in the Horseshoe.
I don't mind waiting for an elite meal.
Oh, the Maryland
I don't want to wait all day to eat exactly another one. Probably throw Rutgers on at night.
Is the Maryland game going to be a night game?
No, I don't.
Well, Penn State will be on.
I'm not waiting all night to eat a hot dog.
It's going to be a big new.
Don't be sleeping on the MAC because Toledo barely lost last week to
Notre Dame. Is not that good.
Notre Dame.
Don't let Berm start talking about it.
Don't sleep on the MAC. They back, man.
That's why there's going to be such everybody
Akron
gets
is not a
tailgate
good
all day.
31-17.
Akron is certainly at the bottom of the MAC, except for Ohio, of course.
Fireworks.
But
OU fell off that bad?
Oh, they're going to get.
Oh, they absolutely did.
Wow.
They've had some tough.
Talk to Chives after the show about what happened.
They lost to Duquesne. They lost to Duquesne on Saturday.
Yeah.
I didn't even know Duquesne had a football team.
Duquesne.
It was a scheme thing.
What do we think is going to happen on Saturday at 3:30? Give me some predictions.
31-17. I'm not switching.
Not a cover.
Oh, no.
Not a cover.
Nope,
Okay.
31-17.
I will say, I think we're going to score a lot of points. I will say 56-24.
You're going to be asked about this again on Thursday at weekend kickoff. So
63-24.
Subject to change by Thursday.
I think Ohio State. What I'm hoping, what I want to see, is the Ohio State starters on offense and defense play 2 quarters. I want the Buckeyes to have 49 points at halftime, and I'm saying an 84-31 final.
You're going off of the traditional
They're going to
Ohio
score
State.
a ton of points. They're going to give up points because this defense is bad.
What is Tulsa's record?
0-2.
They lost to an
UC
FCS program.
Davis. That's why I'm a little bit concerned about your non-cover over here, Tyvis. But I got you.
I'm going to switch it.
Okay.
32-17.
Oh, 32. Now that he's got that information about UC
The
Davis.
last time Ohio State played Tulsa in the stadium, there was like a torrential downpour right before half. Remember that?
Yeah, 2016. And
Awful.
Tulsa actually had a chance
They
to
had the
pull
chance to
off
win
this
that game.
upset. And this was when Ohio State had a lot of talent in the secondary. Tulsa's like, you know what we're going to do? We're in this game. It's the last 3 minutes of the half. Let's air it out. Oh, pick 6. Boom. Then they try it again. Another pick 6. Back-to-back pick 6 is game over.
That was a defense that had.
Oh,
That was a defense with Marshawn.
Was it a 14-point game?
It wound up being like 40-3 was the final.
That was a defense that had some game changers.
But at that
I just
point-
don't know if this one has any.
I think it was like 6-3 or something like that, and then they threw back-to-back.
So 32-17 sound about right.
84-31.
Look,
84-31. I'm looking forward to seeing the other quarterbacks. I'm looking forward to seeing Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Ibuka get some chances to catch the football. Jaden Ballard, Julian Fleming, who had a big play, against Oregon. You're going to see them run a lot of guys out there like normal, but I'm hoping that they're working to find a best 11 on defense and just letting those guys play in the first half until the game is over.
yeah, Ohio State is going to put up a bunch of points and a bunch of yards on Saturday. That's not going to be an issue. So I think that
31-17.
I think
32, excuse me.
I think the offense is going to score 63 points, but I have no idea how many the defense is going to give up. I think it'll be a cover, but man, it could be like 63-35. I don't know what it's going to be. It's going to be interesting because Ohio State has a lot to correct and a few weeks to do it before that margin of victory or margin of error starts shrinking again. But they're 1-1, so the margin for error in the college football playoff race is now gone. Tyvis Powell, Bobby Carpenter, Jeremy Birmingham, I'm Austin Ward. Appreciate Nicole Cox and Roosters for having us in here yet again for Letterman Live. Is a fun, interesting, casual conversation this week. We'll be here every week no matter what happens. We'll see you next Monday in here at Roosters on Olentangy River Road in Columbus, Ohio. See you.